Welcome, everybody. Free to get a warm or cool beverage, depending on your preference. Free to move your body, close your eyes, turn off your camera, do whatever would make you feel relaxed. Rita together amazing playlist of really gatherings we've had, either on Fridays or Sundays at the Forest House. So if you have things you think we should add, go ahead and open up the chat and put them in. And they can be songs that you turn to when you're feeling like you need a little extra something, fill in the blank. Calm, extra joy, connection. Come a little closer to the mic. All right. Hear my little songs. Let Rita just in her own time.
Okay, I think we'll get started here. Everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Rita.
Perfect. So we're going to get started. This is our third topic talk. I'm very excited for this one. So welcome to our singing topic talk, and it's part of our Good Medicine series that we've been running the last several months. We're going to get it kicked off, meeting our facilitators for today. Kathryn Evans and Kristin Johnstad are fearless leaders. We'll go ahead and roll it over to Kathryn to give a short introduction, and then to Kristin.
Thank you so much, Rita. Hi, everyone. It's good to be with everyone again. I'm so excited for this conversation, this topic talk on singing as medicine as part of our Good Medicine series. And I think that this will be one that I might do a lot more listening than talking, because I'm in the presence of singers, and I guess I'm a singer too, but I'm like a baby singer, and these are like adult singers. So I'm looking forward to this next bit of time where we get to be together and talk. And always happy to be in the presence of my friend Kristin.
Yay. Well, thank you. And that's one of the things that early on, I think people learn, like, are you a baby singer or that should continue cultivating certain things or not? And so, like, part of what we really want to do, not just today, but even when we gather on Sunday, and actually for me, like when I gather anytime, it's like everyone is a singer. And I heard somebody actually who does a lot of song leading. I think he's in Oregon. Orion Johnstone is his name. And he said with singing, there's fear and there's less fear. And that's felt really right, for me, because different occasions. Anyways, so we're going to kind of just be noticing when that weird fear comes up, or is it actually just bubbly stuff that's excitement, and we're going to try to make it safe enough that everyone can feel like they belong and are supported. And that's perfect because the next slide will introduce you to someone that has joined us for this conversation today. And I'll say more about how I met Danielle, but Danielle's a Kansas City person too. She's not a mystery guest because she's got her camera on, which I am really grateful for. And she's just gonna join Rita and Kathryn and I in the conversation around how singing can be medicine. So welcome, Danielle, and I don't know if you want to say hey or anything
Yeah.
before we.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Danielle Anderson, and I am a songwriter, a singer, a performer, and I use the stage name Danielle Ate the Sandwich. And I'm excited to be part of a conversation about singing and to be joining two and three lovely people who are clearly doing great work. I'm based in Kansas City. I've also lived and got my start in Colorado, but a lot of my work sharing my art is on the internet, so I kind of feel of everywhere and nowhere sometimes. So my community is everything that I'm able to reach with the light of music and song. So I'm glad to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And we'll hear a little bit from Danielle in the form of a song here in a little bit. But I want to kick off our conversation, which, of course, as always, if you feel called to when you read our question, you can answer in the chat. Before we roll out a question, I'm going to kick it over to Kathryn really quick, just so she can give the audience an overview of the Good Medicine series. If this is someone's first time watching one of our videos, trying to get a sense of the work that we're trying to do here and what we want to continue to do after this series. Kathryn?
Yes. So Good Medicine is an expression of our desire to be healing people and to facilitate healing in our families, in our communities, our neighborhoods, the different spaces that we occupy. Kristin and I are kindred spirits who have worked together and become friends and become family over several years of doing work like this. And when Kristin came to me and said we should do this and we should let it take root in Kansas City, my first thought was, well, I really need that. So yeah, let's do that. Very much aligned with my own self-interest and my interest in community care and well-being. So Good Medicine is a way for us to tap into our own ability to get in touch with ourselves and heal the parts of us that are untended or broken, either by our own experiences or by just being a human being with lots of intense feelings in this world that is so brutal and difficult to navigate sometimes, and being able to find joy in what the body can do, singing, movement, writing, storytelling, gathering with others, and what we can create when we do that with other people. So that is a little bit of a sneak peek of Good Medicine. We've done 2 of these modes of healing together. We started with writing, and then we did movement, and we are excited to be in our singing era and look forward to the other ways that we express our desire for healing with our community as we move forward with this series in the future. So that's a little bit. If you want more information about the Good Medicine series, you can visit our website, which is rootedstrategy.com/goodmedicine, and I will put that link in the chat as well.
Great. So let's get started and kind of diving deeper into all of our experiences we've had with singing. And Kathryn or Kristin, did you want to say a little bit about why this set of offerings in particular we've decided to kind of embark on?
Yeah, I'll be a little bit brief so we can jump into the conversation with the four of us, but part of, well, actually the image that you see that has the hands reads, "This must unravel so that we can weave together something better." And it came from a friend of mine who created this after the shooting of a young Black man in our city. I live in Minneapolis. And I've just found it really, really powerful, not just around racial justice and community building, but around all these different elements like singing, dancing, moving. Like some of these, there's a reason I think to focus in on one strand, even though we know that they're interconnected. But if we focus on the strands when we bring it together, we will be stronger, our communities will be stronger. And I added this feelings thing from the last time because we did a lot of body-based work, and part of what I'm aware of in my own healing journey is this like need to feel my feelings, which is not an easy thing given my conditioning. And if you look at my mother and my mother's mother and etc. But sometimes they all come up at once. So like I was joking with Rita has a feeling wheel on her wall, and I learned a good trick that you don't just say, "How do I feel?" "Oh, I feel happy," because happy, almost as soon as you say it, like judgment or something will come in and the feeling like it becomes a muddled thing. So we're doing this offerings to try to pay gentle attention to the different strands of things in our lives, feelings, perceptions, mental formations. We're doing it to focus on specific doorways in, and in the end, so that recognizing it's all interconnected, like we started moving when we were hearing the music. So that's it. Let's get to the questions, Rita.
No, I have kind of teased them the last couple slides, but here's our first question. What is your earliest memory of singing being important to you? I can't see you all, so if someone
I think Danielle should start because hasn't had to say anything yet.
I'd love to start.
Yes.
When I first saw this question, the very first thing I thought of was watching myself as a kid back on home videotape, standing by the piano. My mom was playing piano and I was singing "Go Tell It on the Mountain." And so I was probably rehearsing for some church choir performance. I don't think it was a solo. I was just like a part of a choir. And I don't even remember it in my body, but seeing young me sing it back, it was the first time I sort of remember that I was a singer, and there was like evidence of it. And I remember as a kid, I was pretty shy and I would get very frustrated. And so it was hard for me to share this thing with people, to be practicing the piano while someone was recording and watching. And I could tell I was sort of agitated. But I think through that sort of nervous energy or shyness, there's also that importance of vulnerability and like I have something to say. So my voice has always been really deeply connected with my voice, my opinion, my point of view, the stories that are important to me, the things I wanted to say. And I, of course, didn't realize it when I was like a 4-year-old practicing a song in front of the piano in Fremont, Nebraska. But as I've gotten older and sort of watched these younger versions of me, these home videos, or see these photos of me performing, it kind of hits me and strikes me that it was all very important to becoming who I am, to figure out how to use and develop my voice.
Yeah, I'm glad we had Danielle go first. That was that was amazing to hear. Similarly, I'll just jump in because you talking about church choir sort of struck me. I mean, we live in the Midwest, so being a part of a church choir was a pretty common thing, and that's sort of where I got my start. I can remember my parents were in a church choir, and I remember them taking me to their practices. probably around the age of 4 or 5. And I think that that's sort of where this love of performance and singing was kind of born, because I got to watch them do it and participate in it. And now that I'm older, I just think about how so many people, music, isn't a big part of their lives. But for me, it's just always been there. It's always been a constant. And I think I saw them perform, and then that as soon as I did, that's exactly what I wanted to do. And so any chance I got, I would be singing, especially with my dad. He has a large collection of CDs, and I distinctly remember singing Harry Connick Jr. with him in the car. There's this one song that we sing together, and I'll add it into our playlist. But he always just encouraged me with music and singing. There's never, there was never any negative feelings I had towards it. So that's sort of my earliest memory.
I can very much relate to the church, singing in church story, but mine feels a little bit different, which is that I wasn't really encouraged to sing anywhere outside of church. And it's not like I was necessarily like encouraged to sing in church, but that is really the only place that I like felt like it was okay for me to sing, because I wasn't I didn't grow up with the message that I can sing, right? I kind of grew up with the message that like, oh, you kind of don't sound that great when you're singing. And no one in my family really sang out loud. And so I guess, I was part of this family mythology that like, we're not really singers, but I did sing at church. And I grew up in a Catholic church, and I found that music very like restraining and in like an oppressive way. It's not inspiring to me. Like, it all kind of sounds the same. And I still do, but I remember being a child and hearing other ways that you could potentially sing these hymns and being like, dang, why don't we try it that way? And wanting to try it that way, and like having this desire to be like, oh, let me see what it sounds like if I sing it in this note instead of that one, right? But that was just not something that I have ever really felt brave enough to do. And I've started to do it more now as an adult. When we were celebrating Christmas with my husband's family this year, we went to their church, and it was a country gospel service, which made my heart so happy. I was like, yes, this is how we're supposed to be singing in church. And so there were so many voices that I was able to just focus on my own. And I did try out some different things. And the best was like hearing my daughter, who's 8, sitting next to me, just sing so loud, like just go for it, because I don't know, I guess she just felt free to do that. So I am, I think, just on the cusp of like learning how important singing can be as a way to express yourself, and actually like being in the practice of doing that.
Well, whatever you're doing to have your little one sing at the top of her lungs, like that's a beautiful thing. And yeah, I'm feeling happy and tender, like hearing these stories. I realize my daughter is 24, and she uses the shower to release, like when she's sad, like she'll be crying in the shower, like sobbing in the shower. And there isn't a lot of other ways that you would see a lot of emotion in our house, or that, and a lot of times people joke about singing in the shower. Like there's not, I mean, she goes there to release. And so whatever's happening in your house, Kathryn, so that your daughter's singing loud and proud is a beautiful thing. There's lots of associations I have with the stories. I do come from also a church or classical family. So like the music in our house was classical, and there actually wasn't vocals. And so it was instrumental classical, and on my mother's side, they're actually, performed, made their living doing that. And so what was interesting is listening to this and just realizing for the first time is, even though it was in the same Lutheran denomination, when we went to my father's side, who did love singing and sings a lot, but they're not trained as singers. So the type of music, the way the voice sounds, is heartfelt in those places, and it's more constrained and classically trained in my mom's side. So, but we did have a piano. We didn't sing church things at home. We sang folk songs, and that's because the generation that we came from, my dad, we sang Joan Baez, and it was like an attractor for sure, Friday and maybe other nights. As soon as my mom stopped playing the classical and started playing something out of that songbook, like people would just come. My family members would come. And what was interesting to think about now is that like there were dad's songs, where he was the lead. And then, my siblings, we had different parts, but I tended to harmonize just because I liked to harmonize. And I knew it was important to gather around this piano. Like it was a song after the classical practicing stopped of my mother's or playing, then we would as soon as these other songbooks opened up, we'd all just from whatever we were doing, come to the piano. And that probably was, 6, 7, for sure, 8 through when I left home, there'd be regular singing. So
Just want to thank everybody for kicking this off so deeply. We'll move on to the next question. We've kind of alluded to it a little bit in our last answers, but what singing or songs connects you to your ancestors? If anyone wants to start, I have a couple ideas percolating in my head, but.
Well, I can do quick because I ended, but like I said, both sides of my family have singing in it. My dad's side are Lutheran pastor types, so it's very community oriented singing, and it usually has something tied to faith. My mom's side is classical on her mother's side, and her father's side were vaudeville musicians. So they were both singing, but super different types. And so they're very specific. Those would be the ways of singing. And there are specific songs that oh my gosh, I remember Uncle so-and-so singing that. That's what I think about.
I think the songs that connect me to my ancestors are similar in the Lutheran hymnal. I also think of the songs, kind of, Rita, like the memory you shared, the songs you sing with your parents or your grandparents, or the songs your grandparents play. And my grandma listened to the Anne Murray cassette tape. So Danny's song is one, and my dad, who has passed, loved Steve Miller Band. So anytime the Joker, some people call me the space cowboy. Anytime that song comes on, I think of my dad. And kind of a more gripping moment, I was at the funeral of my grandmother, who died in her old age, sitting by my mom, whose dad died when she was just 17. So both of her parents had passed at very different times in her lives. And we were singing a hymnal at the funeral. I'm not sure which one it was. I'll have to ask my mom. But she kind of took a deep breath and said, "Oh my gosh, we sang this song at my father's funeral." So to think of my mom as a timeline of being a 17-year-old kid singing this same song at her father's funeral when she was 17, and now when she was in her 60s and her her mother had passed, singing the same song that just in my head, I just saw this like yarn connecting this person who had been through these things, and it felt like such a moment to then be like, oh my gosh, when my mom dies, we'll probably sing this song at her funeral. I don't know, what are we gonna do? My mom's a little more contemporary, but it was a powerful moment, and definitely something that I wrote into a song of my own. And in my songwriting, if I can say my own songs connect me to my ancestors, one of the number one things I write about is my family and family dynamics and where I come from and what I've learned from these people, for better and for worse. So songs and singing is such a part of me exploring the people that I come from and the journeys they've been through.
Danielle, I lost my mom last year in March of 2024. And so I'm sharing that to share, I know the feeling of losing a parent. And also when I see this question, I think about her because she is like my queen ancestor. And a few things come to mind. Whitney Houston is like, I don't know, like my mom and I have like such a love for Whitney Houston. We were just always like so obsessed with her. Like she had this greatest hits album. It was when, you know, CDs were like more of a thing, I guess. And it was one of those albums that like had 2 discs, you know, because it was like so many songs. And my mom and I used to just like, we would, and a lot of it was like the same songs, but remixes. Like we would just like listen to the whole thing. So I think about my mom a lot when I hear Whitney Houston, and like she has come to me a lot through like moments and encounters with Whitney Houston songs since she passed. So that is definitely a connection point for me. I'm thinking about this question in a like multi-generational kind of way going forward because of my own daughter, and I've talked about her already, but she writes songs and she writes lyrics. She likes to write, so she'll write song lyrics. She will make up melodies and then like add words to them. And so there's a couple of her songs like that I've actually recorded on just like on my phone, or that like songs that I haven't recorded but I remember. Like when she was 3, she wrote a song called Don't Put My Heart in a Box, Baby. And so sometimes we sing a lot in our house, and so sometimes we'll just like start singing Don't Put My Heart in a Box, Baby, because it kind of has that like kind of rhythm. And it's so yeah, this question kind of makes me think about like how ancestry is a long line, right, or a circle, or it's not like just from me and what came before me, it's through me, right? And so so some of those little songs make me really happy and help me feel connected to her and the legacy that we're creating together.
I'm excited to see where Clara's songwriting journey takes her. That lyric already has legs. I can't see the chat, so I don't know if people are contributing some things. But I just wanted to share quickly. I think this is a good time to bring up the fact that I'm currently making music with my cousins. We have a band together. We actually just booked another show, which I'm really excited about, at the end of January. But I just think it almost feels like us being in a band together was kind of written on the wall because, you know, my grandma Rita, who I was named after, still sings in the choir. She's like 85 at this point. She's still singing strong at the Catholic Church choir in Independence. And she just fostered such a welcoming environment when we were growing up, of being at her house and making little plays or songs or little jingles up, and when we were hanging out all together in her basement. She was sort of like the in-home babysitter for all of us, which she didn't mind at all because she loved spending time with all of us. But even back then, Anna and I, who are in the band now together, we were creating little plays and musicals and making our boy cousins sit and watch us perform. So it just feels like sort of what Kathryn said, this kind of the ancestry moving through us and the power of music moving through us. It feels like this is something that has been long in the making, even before we were born, because of the importance of music in our family and just its wide acceptance throughout all of us. And just the support too. I mean, if you go to one of our shows, 3/4 of the crowd is our family, which is really awesome and great to have that support when we're just starting out and kind of experimenting with making music. So yeah. All right. Gonna move on to the next question. What role does singing play in your life? This one is pretty relevant. We've all kind of talked about how it plays a role, but if anyone wants to kind of jump in and explain what the day-to-day life looks like for music and singing.
I'll jump in. I definitely use singing in what I feel like every moment of my life. I use it for my career as an artist, as a singer and a performer. I use it to of course express myself and share my stories, but kind of to process my stories, and I think that is part of my healing process. So my writing is musical, but a lot of it is lyrical and vocal. So that's an important part of me. I think I'm a self-taught singer. Like I didn't go to school for college, or I didn't go to college for singing or school, or I wasn't classically trained by any means. Basically, I sung along to the radio and figured out how my voice felt best to present to everyone. And so it's been with me, and it's been a process that I have been discovering my whole life. And I sometimes forget how important it is to me. One of the most easy ways, the tangible way, is if I'm sick and I don't have a speaking voice or a singing voice, or it's like kind of painful to sing. I just feel devastated. And it's less about feeling ill, but it's like, I can't sing. My personality has been taken away from me. And so, um, and then that makes me remember how important it is to sing. I'm singing in the car, I'm singing in the shower, I'm singing to myself when I'm unloading the dishwasher. So my voice is kind of the co-star in my life. I don't feel like I would be myself without it. I love you, voice. Love, Danielle.
Kristin or Kathryn, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, sorry, I had to type that the breath is the co-star in my lifeline because that's another one like, oh my gosh, the breath is the co-star in my life. I sing to feel my breath, and mostly like if I'm scared or anxious or in a place where I could feel like I'm holding, like humming and starting to sing something will help me go like, oh my God, babe, your voice is really, or your breath is really shallow. And I can't feel it sometimes in my body if different people will say like in this, self-care, mindfulness, whatever, oh, follow your breath. I'm like, I can't follow it unless there's an audible sound tied to it. So I hum and do stuff like that all the time, which is also a connection back to our ancestors if we think about, who held us and rocked us and hummed with us and to us. Now I sing most often with comfort choirs or hospice choirs. It's the most gorgeous and beautiful work I've ever done. I don't use a book or anything where I would need to read notes. I mean, I can, but I find being called to a bedside or a care facility by a family to be present for somebody who's either actively dying or going through something is the most intimate and complex stuff I've ever done. And I just feel really humbled to have found my way there. I'm in two different networks of people, so it's not a same group of people all the time. And even that, like, getting a text saying like 4 singers are needed at this address on this date, and just going and not realizing like who's going to be there to sing, and have we ever sung together before? Maybe, maybe not. When we walk in the house, who's in the house? And again, I just, do you sing for the partner who's sitting with his spouse? Do you sit for the family that's collected? Do you sing just for that person? So it's super beautiful. But the one thing that's definitely evolved is that I do not like to hold a book and read notes. Like that's, so I resonated when you said, Danielle, the like self-taught, like, I mean, I did study that. I actually had a bad like thing when I was really studying classical stuff and didn't sing for a super long time. It wasn't until somebody said, what do you love the most? I said, I love singing. And they're like, when did you do it? And I'm like, maybe 12 years ago. So I don't, anything where a book comes out and there's like somebody telling me this is what you sing and how, I'm like, no, I'm out. So yeah, so that's how singing shows up for me in my weeks, my day to day and my weeks.
I was just gonna add, we're kind of running long here, but Danielle, what you said really struck me as well. I know I've always been a good singer. I've, been told since I was young. I got auditioned and was in a lot of musicals when I was really young. And then I had a really bad moment where I had some stage fright and anxiety, and so it took a back burner. And then in college, I auditioned for the choir and didn't make it in, and the director was sort of pretentious and a bit of an asshole and said like, I think you need to get your voice like maybe checked by a doctor because it sounded like it had damage. And so that really made me upset and sad that maybe singing wasn't going to be a part of my life any longer. But now I've kind of revisited it and learned how to care for my voice. And now I'm not seeing that anymore as an obstacle. But that really definitely took a toll on my view of singing in my daily life because I didn't want it to go away completely forever. So I thought, okay, if it is hurt, then maybe I should just stop altogether, which obviously wasn't the right thing to do because it's a muscle that you have to train and practice. So yeah, there's just been a kind of complicated relationship I've had with it in my daily life. So yeah. Kathryn, did you want to add anything?
No, I didn't have anything to add, but I am excited for hearing more of Danielle's voice. I think that we were going to get to hear something that Danielle's working on.
Yes. I think let's answer this question. I feel like this one really pertains to the topic talk, and then we can probably move on to learning more about Danielle and what her project she's currently doing. But does anyone have an answer to when or how did you realize singing could support your healing journey?
I can start that one. My realization has been fairly recent. Unlike the other things that we practiced in good medicine, like writing and movement, those have been with me for a very long time, most of my life, all of my life. But singing is it's like a newer experience for me, because there's some stuff that I've got to clear, like old stories and old messages about my voice and its power. So like as that is clearing, I'm able to make more room for singing as a way to express myself and to like write a different story for myself, or create a different story about what my voice means, which is in and of itself very, very healing. The hope that I have for this practice for me is, and I've shared this with Kristin, I really want to be able to hear harmonies and do them. Like, I feel very drawn to that, to that like skill. And so I'm going to be working on that, including this next weekend at our workshop. So yeah, it's newer for me, but I'm excited.
Anyone else have anything else to add?
I'll say something, and then Rita, just so you know, Danielle can stay until about 10 after, so
Okay.
have a little bit of time to not have her like have to feel stressed and quickly share and jump off. But
Okay.
I think for me, the thing I'm sitting with the most, I was telling Rita when we started, before we started the recording, like I listened to a podcast yesterday that was done on public radio. I actually posted it online on my LinkedIn, tied to how grieving can bring people together or divide us. And so I'm saying that because I think I've been focusing more on singing for myself or in places where I knew what the healing was that was needed. And, you know, again, this is medicine that I believe it's like eat your peas, like it's good for you. So, you know, I think I've known that it's good for me, so I will do it. But I have a feeling that there's a lot more grieving that I'm in the middle of than I realized. And so I guess what's sticking out for me with this question is really like, what is it that I'm trying to heal? And when you start to focus in on that, is it kind of like that braiding thing where like you lose like, oh, there's other things that are also there, you know? And again, I don't know what's the right analogy, if it's like, you know, layers or just different like whatevers, but yeah, so it's been a part, but I think it's been a part that's been too tightly defined. And so I'm really curious myself about asking my body and maybe my voice, like, what is it that you want me to know? Like, what do you want to say through me? Yeah, that's what comes to mind.
I'll jump in and add a few thoughts. I think this is a great question, and I don't think it's something that I really formalized or thought about until you asked me in preparation for this webinar. So I think it's absolutely a part of my healing process and has been my entire life. Like I mentioned before, I was a shy kid. So overcoming shyness to know that I was worth something, that I had something to say, that I was talented enough or important enough to live in the space that I was occupying. And then now as I've lived more and more life, singing and songwriting is such a part of how I work through things that I'm really stuck or hung up on. It's the companion to my grief, and it is often I sometimes forget the medicine of this too. If like when I feel awful or I feel frustrated or I feel mad or I feel sad, I sometimes forget that there's an instrument sitting right here, and there's an instrument within me, and just letting out noises and like you said, Kristin, breathing sometimes is the easiest way to not heal and make everything better, but to help you work through something that is very difficult. Even a sound that you can make if you don't have like easy access to music to play or music to hear, just you can be your own music to soothe yourself. And as I go forward, I think it's helpful to remember that it is a source and a well of something powerful that can help me through a lot of different situations. So singing rules. I'm just really coming to the realization as we speak that singing rules.
Me too. I was thinking while you're talking, Danielle, that I take for granted the fact that I have some instruments that I can use to get out some of the feelings that I have. And sometimes I think it stems back to this weird like perception I have of what singing should be. And I think it goes back to my childhood because I grew up watching American Idol and I thought, okay, if you're going to sing, you have to be like the best, you have to be number one, you have to sort of win and be successful and sell a whole bunch of records. And the more I've grown up and the more I've started to do creative endeavors in my community, I'm realizing that just participating in the act of songwriting or participating in the act of jamming with other people is enough. And so I think that's kind of how I've healed in other parts of my life, realizing that, you know, what I do on a day-to-day basis in relating to music is enough. And I don't need to feel like, you know, I'm not successful in my music journey just because I'm not this superstar, which is funny to say out loud, but I really do believe that that's kind of what my perception of it has been for a long time. And I could go into all the implications of capitalism and how that's kind of shaped it as well, but for now I just know that I'm on the right path with my relationship with music, and I'm just excited to continue to explore it throughout my life.
You're a superstar in my book, Rita.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Kathryn, anything to share before we do a little gushing about Danielle ate the sandwich?
No, let's gush.
Let's gush. So you're about to like be transported and hopefully we'll find a way to support Danielle with this amazing upcoming 24-hour album. And my origin story with Danielle and this amazing challenge that she sets for herself is I was trying during the pandemic to learn a stringed instrument I've never played and still don't actually because I haven't committed to the time and practice. But I was in Kansas City for work, a project with Kathryn, and right very close to Forest House we were meeting. And we got home and I was like, oh, I got back to the Airbnb where I was staying. I was like, I wonder if there's any ukulele shows on or any ukulele players. And I started searching and literally she popped up as a YouTuber. And she said earlier, you know, she's got a good strong presence. And she was in the middle of this 24-hour album. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I like was cooking at the kitchen, like watching it at the 8 o'clock. And then I like set my alarm at midnight. And because she comes in and out like with all these fans around the world as she's like, okay, I'm stuck on this chorus, or what do you think? I think I need to do this. And I was just like, I literally was just transfixed. And I said, oh, I gotta go to sleep because I'm in Kansas City for work with Kathryn and I gotta get some rest for tomorrow. But like my body, like I would sleep and then I would look at the alarm clock and I'd sleep and I'd look at the alarm clock. And it was just like, so just anybody that would say they're going to create something that you can produce in 24 hours has my full attention. And there's many more stories tied to that, which I'm happy to share, not today, but if you come to things at the Forest House or you come to concerts that Danielle will do. And Rita, you have also a connection to her as well. Do you want to say?
Yeah, I can just say a small bit. I took Danielle's 4-week songwriting class. And it was the first time that I was able, start to finish, to complete a song pretty much on my own. Lyrics, strumming pattern, chords with my guitar, which I'm still a very newbie at. But she just gave this incredible book of resources to us in the form of Google Docs. And we were able to just meet as a group every week and kind of share our struggles and our wins with songwriting. And I mean, it was just incredible. It was one of my favorite experiences of 2024. So with that, I'll give it up to Danielle to kind of explain her upcoming project and then maybe share something with us.
Thanks so much, Rita and Kristin. I really appreciate those sweet memories and how you came to be and the experience you've had with what I'm doing.
Let's take the
Kristin,
slide deck down so we can see more of each other.
Kristin mentioned the 24-hour album, and if you're not familiar, this is a project I do where I stay up for 24 hours to write, record, produce, and release as many songs, as many new, fresh songs as I possibly can, with the help of my fans and patrons. And so I ask people for suggestions. What should I write a song about? What key should I write a song in? Who should I try to emulate? And I do live streams every few hours. So like Kristin said, she was setting an alarm because they kind of happen throughout the 24 hours where people can see me in my studio writing, having moments of success, having moments of utter failure and frustration. And through it all, we're kind of building it together. It started as a project, as a creative challenge for myself, and it has over the years become a collaborative community project because we absolutely do it together. And not only because the fan base, like involving the public, helps me stay rooted to my goal of staying up for 24 hours and having something to show for myself, but truly their encouragement and ideas, they get me out of holes and they turn me around when I've backed myself into a corner. And so it's a really beautiful thing that even includes people sending in vocal tracks that I mix into some of the albums, and it becomes a totally beautiful collaborative community project. And so my next 24-hour album happens just in 2 weekends. January 11th at 11 a.m. Central Time, and then ends January 12th at 11 a.m. Central Time. And if you want to be involved in that, you can just follow me on social media, but the best way is to become a patron of me on patreon.com. Patrons get exclusive links to me in the studio. And then Rita mentioned my Life as a Songwriter class, which I'm actually running again in February, if any of your followers would be interested in that. That's also listed on my website. We meet Wednesday evenings in February for 4 weeks, and I think it's great for all levels. It's good for beginners who want those just how do I get started? What is all this? And then a lot of experienced writers take the class as well, just to serve as an accountability practice, to show up every week, to dedicate work, and to have the opportunity to talk about it and work through it. It becomes a really powerful thing as well. And so I would love to go ahead and share a song if that feels right to everybody else. This is not one I wrote during the 24-hour album. This year, 2025, I will release a new full studio recorded album. So this is kind of confusing to do both in the same year. But a studio album is different because I do spend a little more time working on the songs. They become very true, edited, every word is considered, and they're just heaping piles of my experiences and the emotions I went through. So this album will have a lot about grief. I lost my dad and my grandma, and I also moved to a new city, Kansas City, and I fell in love. So there's all these topics on the new record that is recorded in a studio with a professional sound engineer, etc. So that's an amazing experience in its own because you really get to spend a lot of time nurturing the songs and bringing them to life. And the 24-hour album project is a great experience because it actually takes away some of the pressure and preciousness. And it's just 8-year-old Clara singing in church as at the top of her lungs, kind of going, I want to do this right now and I'm going to let it happen, so both are very powerful and very poignant in whatever practice you're in. And so this song is one of the love songs. I wrote it for my boyfriend, Michael, who I met here in Kansas City. And I just released it as a single, meaning it's on all the streaming services and up on my website to hear. It's the first single from my new studio album. And it's called It's Not Jupiter. Babes, it's just a spacey love song trying to breathe through the feelings of, oh my gosh, I think I found something wonderful. Could this possibly be happening to me? Calling on the stars to give me the confidence and patience to trust that I found love. we do our best to make a name for it. In the Milky Way, dropped its stars above the night, chasing blindly after Orion as he hunted through the sky. And the sands inside the hourglass give us a knowing sigh. But in the living room with this clear view, it's only you and I. And nothing is quite as it seems. What a lovely thing. And it's laughable to think back how long it took for the mercy and the atoms to make existence up. And the nights I spent with arms outstretched, hoping you would come. But here you are under the stars, and I am drinking up. And nothing is quite as it seems. What a lovely thing. 7 sisters, grant my wishes, and won't you keep your whispers in the wilds of the moonlight while I'm falling asleep by your side. Though I've been torn and turning, bound to fates I didn't bargain, let me linger in this moment for a little longer. And the greater dog tricked us all along. That night we watched the southern sky above the tennis courts, and I realize I don't need a name to call the simple thing, earth-shattering, being wrapped up in your arms. And nothing is quite as it seems. Nothing is quite as it seems. Nothing is quite as it seems. What a lovely I always invite people to unmute and applause.
Yes, unmute. Woo!
Thank you, thank you.
Sharing that. That was beautiful.
Thank you for the
Oh,
opportunity
yeah.
to sing a song of mine.
Oh, yes.
Sounded incredible. Chills everywhere.
Yeah.
Thank you for rocking. I
From
saw you guys
the
vibing
stars.
too. I was like, yes, yes, I am not alone. I am with friends.
You're not alone, and the world needs more people with courage and bravery to just put out whatever's in your heart and your body and mind. And so thanks for joining us, mystery guest, and we wish you nothing but success, and we will be supporting you as a small little group, and we will work to get your work out in the world and figure out how we can keep supporting you. Yeah, and if you're interested in supporting the work at Forest House, besides Danielle's beautiful work, supporting the Forest House work, which is really about healing stored trauma and providing skills and ways to respond, hold harmonies, hold dissonant harmonies as we navigate these times, please consider supporting that work or coming on Sunday. And depending on who's there, Kathryn, we'll see, we'll see if well, for sure we'll get to harmonies at the end, but we'll sort of see how people show up. It's tender stuff. So it sort of depends if people are nervous even if you're nervous, come, because you can rest and you can listen and you can hum. And that I probably would, by the end of the time, if people hadn't made one peep, I would just probably whisper like, are you okay? Is this what you need? Because sometimes it's a participatory sport. Just getting some sound out of your body
Mm.
will help. And if we can get to harmony, that's beautiful. Otherwise, we'll have to have many more gatherings or many more 24-hour albums. I was hearing already the harmonies in that song. So, but you know, that's because I grew up as a tiny person, like being asked to do them. So, anyways, I love you three women so much. It's just incredible. So have a beautiful day and weekend. And I think this is a wrap. This is a wrap.
Thank you, guys.